The desperate call. The city of Meridian fell on the 7th day. Commander Thane watched from orbit as plasma fire rained down on the crystalline towers that had stood for 3,000 years. Each burst of green light meant another 100 lives lost, another piece of his civilization erased. The communication channels were filled with screams. Mothers calling for children. Soldiers begging for reinforcements that would never come. And through it all, the cold mechanical voices of the Kryllian warships broadcasting their demands for unconditional surrender. Thane's command ship, the Dawn's Promise, was one of only 15 vessels remaining from the Keltharian defense fleet. They had started with 70. The Kryllians had destroyed the rest in the first 3 days. His people were scientists, artists, philosophers. They had built a civilization based on knowledge and beauty. They had 30 patrol ships designed for asteroid mining and piracy prevention. They were never meant to fight a war. The Kryllians knew this. They always knew this. They chose their victims carefully. His first officer approached with downcast eyes. The triple lids that marked their species blinked slowly, a sign of deep distress. Commander, the southern continent has gone silent. All communications have ceased. Thane felt something break inside his chest. The southern continent held 2 billion Keltharians. 2 billion souls who had awakened that morning thinking about their work, their families, their dreams. Now they were just numbers. Just casualties in someone else's war of conquest. How many ships are in their fleet now? Thane asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 463. They brought another wave through the jump gate this morning. His officer's voice trembled. Our remaining forces cannot hold them. We have perhaps 2 days before complete orbital superiority is lost. Then they will land ground troops. They knew what that meant. The Kryllians did not take prisoners. They took resources. They took worlds. Everything else was eliminated. He made his decision then. It was a desperate decision, perhaps a foolish one. But desperation was all he had left. Prepare my personal shuttle. I am leaving the system. His officer stared at him in shock. Commander, you cannot abandon us. We need you here. I'm not abandoning anyone. Thane's voice was firm. I'm going to get help. He pulled up a star chart on his console. The assembly meets in 3 days. If I push my engines to maximum, I can reach them in time. The assembly has already refused to help us. You know this. We sent 3 diplomatic missions. They will not risk war with the Kryllians. Then I will make them listen. Thane transferred command protocols to his second. You have command of the fleet. Fight for every hour, every minute. Buy our people time. Time for what? Time for a miracle. The journey to the Galactic Assembly took 72 hours of hard burn. Thane's shuttle was not built for such speeds. The engines screamed in protest. The hull heated to dangerous levels. But he pushed forward through the empty dark, knowing that every second he delayed meant more death. He thought about his daughter. She was a teacher on the northern continent, working at a school for young Keltharians. He had tried to contact her before he left. The communication never connected. He did not know if she was alive or dead. He did not know if he would ever know. The assembly station appeared like a great wheel turning in the void. It was enormous, large enough to hold representatives from 47 different civilizations. The most powerful species in the galaxy all gathered here to maintain peace, to resolve disputes, to prevent wars. Thane's shuttle was cleared for landing. He was taken through security checkpoints and scanning procedures. Everything moved with bureaucratic slowness while his world burned. Finally, he was brought before the Grand Council chamber. The chamber was magnificent. Crystalline walls rose 30 meters high. Holographic displays showed real-time data from across the galaxy. And arranged in a semicircle were the representatives of the 7 prime civilizations. The Zenthari with their multiple arms. The Vorlons in their environmental suits. The Tesserans with skin like living metal. These were the powers that shaped galactic policy. These were the ones who could save his people. Thane approached the speaker's platform. He had prepared a speech during his journey. Logical arguments. Appeals to interstellar law. References to trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. But when he opened his mouth, all of that disappeared. Instead, he simply said what was in his heart. They are killing us. My people are dying right now while we stand here. The Kryllian Dominion is committing genocide. We have done nothing to deserve this. We are peaceful. We are no threat to anyone. And they are wiping us from existence. High Counselor Vrax of the Zenthari leaned forward. His many eyes studied Thane with what might have been pity. We are aware of your situation, Commander. We have monitored the invasion. It is most unfortunate. Unfortunate? Thane's voice broke. 2 billion Keltharians died yesterday. That is not unfortunate. That is murder. Counselor Tessar spoke next. Her metallic voice echoed through the chamber. The Kryllian Dominion possesses a military force of over 6,000 warships. They control 18 star systems. They have resources we cannot match. To oppose them would risk a galactic war. So you will do nothing? Thane looked from one representative to another. You will sit here in your beautiful station and watch my species die because you are afraid? We must consider the greater good. A Vorlon representative said through their translator. The stability of the galaxy requires difficult choices. The greater good. Thane repeated the words. Tell that to the children hiding in bunkers while plasma fire melts the ground above them. Tell them that their deaths serve the greater good. The council members shifted uncomfortably. They looked away. They had made their decision long before Thane arrived. Then a voice spoke from the back of the chamber. There is another option. Everyone turned. An old Tesseran merchant named Voss stepped forward from the observer's gallery. He was not part of the official council, but he was known throughout the galaxy as a trader who went to strange places, who dealt with unusual clients. Voss, you are out of order. High Counselor Vrax said. This is a closed session. I apologize, High Counselor. But I believe I know someone who can help Commander Thane. The room went very quiet. Oh, Thane asked desperately. The humans? The reaction was immediate. Several representatives made gestures that were clearly religious in nature. Others recoiled as if struck. High Counselor Vrax's voice turned cold. You cannot be serious, Voss. The humans have been quarantined for 300 years. They are dangerous beyond measure. Voss nodded slowly. That is true. They are dangerous. But the commander needs dangerous help right now. Thane looked around the chamber in confusion. I do not know who these humans are. Can someone explain? A heavy silence followed his question. Finally, Counselor Tessar spoke. 300 years ago, we discovered a species on a small world called Earth. They were barely beginning space exploration. We studied them as we study all emerging civilizations. What we found terrified us. Thane waited. She continued. Earth is what we call a death world. Everything on that planet evolved to survive in hostile conditions. The humans evolved alongside predators that could kill them in seconds. They developed intelligence as a survival mechanism. But that intelligence came with something else. Violence. Sophisticated, organized violence. They fought each other? Thane asked. For their entire recorded history. Tesser's voice was grim. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy cities. They split the atom and used it as a bomb. They created diseases that could wipe out populations. They invented ways to kill faster than any species we had ever encountered. The worst part? They were good at it. War was not just something humans did. It was something they excelled at. We realized they were a threat to galactic stability. So we quarantined their system. We told them to stay on their side of space. We told the galaxy to stay away from them. And they agreed? Thane could not imagine his people accepting such isolation. They had no choice. Voss said. We had the military power to enforce the quarantine. But here is what the Council does not want to admit. During those 300 years of isolation, the humans did not fade away. They did not regress. They built. They prepared. They created a military force that would make even the Kryllians hesitate. How do you know this? High Counselor Vrax demanded. Because I have been to the edge of their space. Voss smiled. I have traded with their border stations. I have seen their ships. And I tell you now they are ready for war. Thane felt a chill run through his body. You want me to ask these warlike humans for help? What if they simply conquer us after they defeat the Kryllians? Voss shook his head. That is the strange thing about humans, Commander. They have this concept they call compassion. When they see someone weaker being hurt by someone stronger, something triggers in their psychology. They want to help. Even when it costs them. Even when it gains them nothing. It is irrational. It is beautiful. And it is real. High Counselor Vrax stood. We forbid this. Contacting the humans could destabilize the entire galactic order. They are quarantined for good reason. Thane looked at the High Counselor directly. My civilization is being exterminated while you debate political stability. If the humans are as dangerous as you say, then perhaps I need dangerous allies. Perhaps the galaxy needs to learn that there are worse things than humans. Like what? A galaxy where the strong devour the weak and everyone else stands by and watches. Thane turned to Voss. Can you take me to them? I can take you to the edge of their space. After that, you go alone. Your ship. Your message. Your risk. I accept. The council erupted in protest. High Counselor Vrax's voice rose above the others. You are making a terrible mistake, Commander. The humans are not saviors. They are predators who have been caged for 3 centuries. You are about to open that cage. Then let them out. Thane's voice was quiet but firm. Because right now, my people need predators. They need something that can fight the Kryllians on equal terms. They need something that the galaxy fears. And if that is humanity, then I will beg them for help. He bowed respectfully to the council. Thank you for your time. And thank you for nothing else. 2 days later, Thane found himself at the coordinates Voss had provided. The old merchant had given him a communication code and then departed quickly, as if afraid to linger at the boundary of human space. Thane's shuttle floated in the darkness between stars. Somewhere ahead was the quarantine line. Somewhere ahead was humanity. His scanners detected something. An old satellite drifting in the void. As he approached, it activated. A message began to play in a language his translator struggled to decode. The words came through slowly, mechanically. This is the boundary of United Earth space. State your identity and purpose. Any hostile action will be met with immediate response. You are advised that crossing this boundary without authorization is a violation of interstellar quarantine protocols established by the Galactic Assembly. This message will not repeat. Thane took a deep breath. He opened a communication channel. My name is Commander Thane of the Keltharian Republic. My world is under attack by the Kryllian Dominion. They are committing genocide against my people. I have come to ask humanity for help. We have nowhere else to turn. Please, you are our last hope. He sent the message and waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Thane began to wonder if anyone was listening. Perhaps the humans had abandoned this part of space. Perhaps they did not care about alien problems. Perhaps this entire journey was wasted time while his people died. Then his console lit up with an incoming message. Hold your position, Commander Thane. We are dispatching an escort. Relief flooded through him. They had heard. They were responding. But his relief turned to awe 20 minutes later when 3 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and surrounded his tiny shuttle. The ships were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were dark, almost black, covered in angular armor plating. Weapon systems bristled from every surface. These were not exploration vessels. These were not cargo haulers. These were instruments of war, pure and simple. Each ship was larger than his entire remaining fleet. And they moved with a precision that spoke of constant training, constant readiness. A communication channel opened. Commander Thane, you are cleared to follow us to Station Reach. Any deviation from the flight path will result in immediate action. Maintain formation speed at 0.3 light. Acknowledge. Thane acknowledged. His shuttle fell into formation with the 3 warships. They accelerated and he followed. As they traveled deeper into human space, Thane saw more ships. Military patrols. Defense platforms. Automated weapons satellites. The humans had turned this region of space into a fortress. After 2 hours of flight, a massive structure appeared ahead. Station Reach was enormous, larger than the Galactic Assembly station. It was clearly military in design with docking bays for thousands of ships. And those bays were full. Thane counted hundreds of vessels, maybe more. All of them were warships. All of them bore the symbol of United Earth. His shuttle was guided to a diplomatic berth. Security teams met him, scanned him, and escorted him through corridors filled with human soldiers. They wore gray uniforms and moved with disciplined efficiency. Some carried weapons casually, as if violence was always just a moment away. Thane had never seen beings so ready for conflict. Finally, he was brought to a conference room. 3 humans sat waiting for him. One was an older woman with dark skin and hair turned gray. She wore a uniform covered in symbols Thane did not understand, but he recognized authority when he saw it. She was the one in command here. Commander Thane. Her voice was firm but not unkind. I am Admiral Chen of the United Earth Defense Initiative. These are my advisors, Colonel Park and Dr. Rains. Your message has been reviewed by our leadership. We have many questions. Thane bowed in the Keltharian fashion. I will answer anything you ask, Admiral. Tell us about the invasion. How long has it been ongoing? 18 days. Though the initial bombardment killed millions in the first hours. And your military response? We had 70 defensive ships. Now we have 15. The Kryllians have over 400 in our system with more arriving daily. Dr. Rains leaned forward. She had kind eyes that reminded Thane of teachers he had known. Why did your government wait so long to seek help? We sought help immediately. Thane felt shame saying it aloud. The Galactic Assembly refused. They said opposing the Kryllian Dominion would risk wider war. So they abandoned you. Colonel Park's voice held an edge. They decided your species was an acceptable loss. Thane nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Admiral Chen studied him carefully. Commander, humanity has been isolated from the galaxy for 300 years. The Assembly made it clear we are not welcome. They called us dangerous. They called us a threat. Why should we help civilizations that turn their backs on us? Because you are humanity's only hope? Thane said quietly. And because I think you understand what it means to be alone. I think you know what it feels like to beg for help and be refused. I think you remember. The three humans looked at each other. Something passed between them that Thane could not read. Admiral Chen stood. Commander Thane, wait here please. I need to consult with my superiors. This decision is beyond my authority. She left the room with her advisors. Thane was alone. Hours passed. He was given food and water, but he could not eat. He could only think about his daughter, about his world, about the billions who were depending on him to find help from strangers. When Admiral Chen returned, she was not alone. 20 more humans in uniform filled the room. They looked serious, determined. The Admiral sat across from Thane. The United Earth Parliament has reviewed your request. We have debated and voted. Thane held his breath. Humanity will help the Keltharian Republic. Thane felt tears stream down his face. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do not thank us yet. Admiral Chen's voice was hard now. You do not know what you have asked for, Commander. You do not know what you have unleashed. She activated a display screen. Images appeared. Ship designs. Weapon specifications. Fleet compositions. When the galaxy quarantined us, we were angry. We were hurt. But we did not waste time on resentment. We prepared. For 300 years, we have been building a military force like nothing the galaxy has ever seen. What? Thane asked. Why would you build so much if you were isolated? Because we were afraid. Admiral Chen's eyes were distant. Afraid that someday the galaxy would decide we were too dangerous to exist. Afraid they would come to eliminate us. Fear is a powerful motivator, Commander. It makes you do impossible things. The screen showed massive vessels. Warships that dwarfed anything in the Kryllian fleet. How many ships can you send? Thane asked. We will send 2,000 warships to your system. The number did not register at first. Then it did. 2,000? But how? We have 12,000 combat vessels in active service. Another 8,000 in reserve. We have been building for 3 centuries, Commander. Building and training and preparing for the day someone would come for us. Admiral Chen leaned forward. The Kryllians have 400 ships at your world. By the time we arrive, they may have 500. Will not matter. When can you leave? Our fleet will depart in 36 hours. The journey to your system will take 7 days at maximum speed. Thane did the calculations in his head. His people had to survive for 8 more days. 8 days of bombardment. 8 days of dying. Could they last that long? They will have to, he said quietly. There is no other choice. Admiral Chen nodded. Then we begin. Operation Broken Chain is now active. She pressed a button. All across the station, alarms began to sound. Humanity was going to war. The storm arrives. The assembly bays of Station Reach transformed into controlled chaos within minutes of Admiral Chen's order. Thane watched from an observation deck as thousands of human personnel moved with practiced precision. Supply ships ferried ammunition and fuel cells. Maintenance crews swarmed over vessels making final checks. And everywhere, soldiers boarded transports that would carry them to war. The humans did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They worked with grim determination, faces set like stone. These were people who knew what combat meant, who understood the cost of violence. They had done this before, perhaps not against aliens but against each other. War was woven into their history. Admiral Chen stood beside Thane, also watching the preparations. You seem troubled, Commander. I am grateful for your help. Thane chose his words carefully. But I am also frightened. The galaxy fears humanity for good reason, I think. The Admiral smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Yes, they do. And they should. She gestured toward the assembling fleet. Every weapon system you see was designed by people who spent their entire careers thinking about how to kill more efficiently. Every tactical program was written by strategists who studied 10,000 years of human warfare. We are very, very good at destroying things, Commander. Is that something to be proud of? No. Her voice was quiet. It is something to be necessary. There is a difference. She turned to face him directly. My grandfather fought in the reunification wars before we achieved global unity. He told me something I have never forgotten. He said that the capacity for violence does not make you evil. It is what you choose to do with that capacity that defines you. We could have spent 300 years building art and poetry. Instead, we built warships. What? Because someone needed to be ready. Someone needed to be strong enough to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. A massive vessel moved past the observation window. It was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Thane read the name painted on its hull, Indomitable. That is the flagship? He asked. That is where I will command the fleet. Admiral Chen's eyes tracked the ship. That is where you will also travel if you wish. Your presence may help our forces understand what they are fighting for. Thane felt his heart beat faster. I would be honored. Then gather your things. We depart in 30 hours. She walked away, already issuing orders into her communication device. Thane spent those 30 hours learning about humanity. He accessed their historical databases, the ones they made available to him. What he found both amazed and horrified him. Humans had fought each other for their entire recorded history. Wars over territory, resources, religion, ideology. Wars that killed millions. The great wars of the 20th century. The climate conflicts of the 21st. The reunification wars that finally brought them together. They had developed nuclear weapons and used them. They had created biological agents that could wipe out populations. They had invented methods of killing that were sophisticated beyond anything the Keltharians had imagined. But he also found something else. Stories of humans who had risked everything to save strangers. Soldiers who had thrown themselves on grenades to protect their comrades. Civilians who had hidden refugees during genocides. Doctors who had stayed in plague zones to treat the dying. For every story of human violence, there was a story of human compassion. They were a species of contradictions. Capable of terrible cruelty and incredible kindness, often at the same time. Perhaps that was what made them so dangerous. They understood both the cost of violence and the necessity of it. When the fleet departed, it was the most impressive sight Thane had ever witnessed. 2,000 warships organized into battle groups. Carriers that launched squadrons of fighters. Destroyers armed with missiles that could track targets across millions of kilometers. Cruisers with energy weapons that could cut through armor like paper. And at the center, 17 massive dreadnoughts. These were the flagships, the command vessels, the ultimate expression of human military power. The Indomitable led them all, Admiral Chen commanding from her bridge. Thane was given quarters near the bridge. The room was simple, functional. Humans did not waste space on luxury aboard warships. He spent the journey learning about the ship and its crew. The Indomitable carried 3,000 personnel. Engineers who kept the massive vessel running. Tactical officers who plotted firing solutions. Medical staff prepared for casualties. Marines who would board enemy vessels if needed. Everyone had a job. Everyone knew their role. The efficiency was startling. On the 3rd day of travel, Admiral Chen invited Thane to the bridge. He had never seen anything like it. Dozens of stations, each monitoring different systems. Holographic displays showed the entire fleet in real time. Officers called out status reports in calm, professional voices. And at the center, Admiral Chen sat in a command chair, absorbing information from every direction. Commander Thane, welcome. She gestured to a seat beside her own. I thought you might want to see how we operate. This is impressive. Thane settled into the chair. Your people work like a single organism. Years of training and standardized procedures. The Admiral watched her crew work. In combat there is no time for confusion. Everyone must know exactly what to do and when to do it. A communications officer spoke up. Admiral, message from the scout group. They have entered the Keltharian system. Initial scan shows 543 Kryllian vessels. Ground forces are deployed on 3 continents. Thane felt sick. 543. They had brought more ships. How many of my people are left? The officer checked her display. Difficult to determine, Commander. Significant population centers are still broadcasting distress signals. Resistance continues in fortified zones. They are holding. Thane whispered. Barely. Admiral Chen stood. All ships, battle stations. Prepare to enter the Keltharian system. I want combat formation Alpha 7. Dreadnoughts forward, carriers to the center, destroyers on the flanks. Fighter squadrons on standby for immediate launch. The bridge erupted into controlled activity. Across the fleet, 2,000 warships adjusted their positions. They moved with mechanical precision, each captain knowing exactly where to be. Thane watched as the formation took shape. The humans were not just bringing overwhelming numbers. They were bringing organization, discipline, and 300 years of preparation. He almost felt sorry for the Kryllians. Almost. War Master Zroth stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and surveyed his victory. The Keltharian world below was broken. Its cities burned. Its people hid in caves and bunkers, waiting for the inevitable. His ground forces were hunting down the last pockets of resistance. Within 2 days, perhaps 3, the conquest would be complete. Another world for the Dominion. Another species enslaved. This was the natural order. The strong conquered. The weak served or died. It had always been this way. Zroth was a veteran of 40 campaigns. He had crushed rebellions on 17 worlds. His chitin armor was scarred from 100 battles. Among the Kryllian military hierarchy, he was legend. Nothing in this galaxy could stand against the might of the Dominion. They had the largest fleet, the best weapons, the most ruthless warriors. Other species feared them with good reason. Warmaster, his tactical officer, approached. Sensors detect unusual activity at the system's edge. Unusual how? Multiple ships entering from jump space. The signatures are unknown. Not Keltharian. Zroth felt a moment of interest. Perhaps reinforcements from one of the Council species? How many ships? The tactical officer's mandibles clicked nervously. The count is still rising, Warmaster. Current detection shows 600 vessels. More appearing each second. Zroth turned sharply. 600? That is impossible. What fleet in this region possesses such numbers? Unknown, Warmaster. The computer does not recognize their design specifications. They are not in any known database. Show me. Zroth moved to the central display. His 4 eyes widened as the scan data appeared. Ships were materializing from jump space in perfect formation. And they kept coming. 700. 800. 1,000. The numbers climbed steadily. Sound fleet-wide alert. All ships to battle stations. Zroth's mind raced. This had to be a mistake. Some sensor malfunction. No civilization deployed fleets this size for a single operation. Even the Dominion's largest assault groups numbered 300 vessels. Whoever these newcomers were, they were making a statement. A very large, very aggressive statement. Warmaster, the count has stabilized. Final total, 2,000 warships. Unknown configuration. Unknown origin. They are holding position at the system's edge. 2,000. Zroth felt something he had not experienced in many years. Fear. Then a communication request came through on open channels. Zroth accepted it. A face appeared on his screen. It was like nothing he had ever seen. 2 eyes instead of 4. Smooth skin instead of chitin. Small, almost fragile looking. But those eyes were cold. Those eyes had seen death and delivered it. I am Admiral Victoria Cross of the United Earth Fleet. You are the commander of the forces attacking this world? Zroth recovered his composure. I am Warmaster Zroth of the Kryllian Dominion. These are Dominion holdings. You have no authority here. This world is under human protection. Admiral Cross's voice was calm, almost casual. You have attacked civilians. You have bombed population centers. You have committed acts that humanity considers war crimes. War crimes? Zroth laughed, a harsh clicking sound. This is conquest. This is what the strong do to the weak. It is the way of the universe. Perhaps in your universe. The Admiral's face remained expressionless. Not in ours. You have one opportunity to withdraw your forces from this system. Leave now, and you may return to your territory with your ships intact. Refuse and we will remove you by force. Zroth's anger flared. You dare threaten the Dominion? We have 500 warships here. More coming. You may have numbers, but we have experience. We have conquered 12 systems in the last cycle alone. How many battles have you fought, human? More than you can imagine. Admiral Cross leaned forward slightly. Warmaster, I will tell you something that may save your life. Humanity spent 300 years isolated from the galaxy. We spent that time preparing for war. Every ship you see was built for one purpose, to kill efficiently. Every weapon system has been tested and refined. Every tactical program has been run through 1,000,000 simulations. We do not fight for conquest. We fight to protect. And there is nothing more dangerous than a protector who has been preparing for 3 centuries. Leave now. This is your final warning. Zroth cut the transmission. His command deck was silent. The crew looked at him, waiting for orders. He felt the weight of 500 ship captains expecting leadership. The humans were bluffing. They had to be. No species could build 2,000 warships and keep them hidden. No species could create weapons that surpassed Dominion technology. They were trying to frighten him into retreat. It would not work. All ships, combat formation. Prepare to engage the human fleet. We will show these newcomers why the galaxy fears the Dominion. The Kryllian fleet moved into attack formation. 543 warships, the pride of the Dominion military, arranged themselves for battle. They had superior firepower. They had armor that could withstand tremendous punishment. They had warriors bred for combat. The humans would learn what real military power looked like. Zroth watched his tactical display as the fleets maneuvered. The humans were moving now. But strangely, only 17 of their ships advanced. The massive vessels he had noticed earlier. They were enormous, larger than anything in his fleet. They formed a line between the Kryllians and the rest of the human armada. What are they doing? Zroth demanded. Why send only 17 ships? Perhaps a negotiation tactic? His tactical officer suggested. Showing confidence through minimal deployment? Zroth studied the formations. Something felt wrong. Those 17 ships moved with purpose, with precision. They were not negotiating. They were positioning. Scan those lead vessels. I want full analysis. The scanners worked for several seconds. Then alarms began to sound. Warmaster, the readings cannot be correct. The lead ships are showing power signatures that exceed our entire fleet combined. Each vessel appears to carry enough weaponry to... The officer trailed off. To what? Say it. To sterilize a planet's surface. The officer's voice was barely a whisper. Warmaster, those ships have more firepower than our entire invasion force. All of them together. Open fire. Zroth's voice was sharp with sudden fear. All ships, open fire immediately. The Kryllian fleet unleashed everything. Energy beams that could melt through meters of armor. Missiles with warheads that could vaporize city blocks. Plasma torpedoes that burned at the temperature of stars. Thousands of weapons fired simultaneously, creating a wall of destruction that screamed toward the human ships. Zroth had seen this attack destroy entire defensive fleets. Nothing could survive it. The human dreadnoughts did not even try to evade. Shields materialized around them, energy barriers that glowed blue. The Kryllian weapons struck like waves hitting a cliff. The shields absorbed everything. Missiles detonated harmlessly. Energy beams scattered. Plasma torpedoes dissipated into space. When the barrage ended, all 17 human ships remained untouched. Impossible. Zroth stared at his display. Nothing can withstand that much firepower. The lead human vessel began to glow. Energy built up along its hull, flowing into massive weapons arrays. Zroth watched in horror as power readings climbed beyond anything his sensors could properly measure. Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter. But the Kryllian fleet was too close together, too committed to their attack formation. The human dreadnought fired. It was not a beam. It was not a projectile. It was a focused wall of pure energy that tore through space itself. The weapon struck the front ranks of Zroth's fleet and simply erased them. 40 warships ceased to exist in less than 2 seconds. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Erased. Where there had been vessels full of crew and weapons and life, there was now only empty space and debris. Zroth felt his world collapse. What in the name of the ancestors is that weapon? The other 16 dreadnoughts opened fire. Each one targeted a different section of the Kryllian formation. Energy weapons of impossible power carved through his fleet like blades through flesh. Ships that had survived dozens of battles exploded or broke apart or simply vanished. His tactical display became a nightmare of red indicators marking destroyed vessels. In 30 seconds, Zroth lost 100 ships. In a minute, he had lost 200. This was not a battle. This was an execution. All ships retreat. Full emergency burn. Get us out of here. His command deck was in chaos. Officers shouted contradictory orders. Systems overloaded from damage. And still the human weapons kept firing with mechanical precision. Another dreadnought targeted his section of the fleet. Zroth watched the energy build. This is eternal conquest to all Dominion forces. The humans are using weapons beyond our capability. Retreat is the only option. Repeat, full retreat. He cut the transmission and turned to his helmsman. Maximum speed. Get us to the jump point. Now. His flagship burned its engines at maximum power, fleeing toward the system's edge where they could escape to jump space. Behind them, the human dreadnoughts continued their systematic destruction. The Kryllian formation had collapsed completely. Ships fled in all directions, desperate to escape the killing zone. But the humans were not done. The main human fleet, the other 1,983 ships, began to advance. They moved in perfect formation, picking off fleeing Kryllian vessels with casual efficiency. Fighters launched from carriers swarming damaged ships. Destroyers fired missiles that chased down the slowest vessels. Cruisers used precision energy weapons to disable engines and weapons. Zroth's tactical officer was crying, A high-pitched keening sound. War Master, we have lost 420 ships. Only 123 vessels are still capable of jumping out. What do? We survive. Zroth watched his fleet die on the displays. We survive so we can warn the Dominion. The humans are not what we thought. They are not some minor species. They are. He could not finish. There were no words for what he had witnessed. His flagship reached the jump point. Around him, the remnants of his fleet made the transition to faster-than-light travel. They were running. The might of the Dominion was running from humans they had never even heard of before today. As jump space swallowed his ship, Zroth took one last look at the battle display. The human fleet was not pursuing. They had stopped at the orbit of the Keltharian world. They had not come to conquer. They had come to protect. And they had delivered a message that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity was no longer afraid. And most terrifying of all, humanity had spent 300 years becoming the most dangerous military force in known space. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Chen watched the Kryllian survivors flee. Casualty report. 441 Kryllian vessels destroyed. 102 captured or disabled. 93 escaped to jump space. Her tactical officer delivered the numbers calmly. Our casualties, 0. Our damage, minimal shield degradation, all systems operational. Chen nodded. That is acceptable. Begin recovery operations. I want all disabled Kryllian ships secured and their crews processed as prisoners. Deploy medical teams to the planet's surface immediately. Coordinate with local authorities. Let us see who we can still save. Thane stood on the bridge, unable to process what he had just witnessed. The battle had lasted 18 minutes. 18 minutes to destroy a fleet that had been conquering his world for weeks. The humans had not struggled. They had not even seemed concerned. They had simply activated their weapons and removed the threat with clinical efficiency. Admiral Chen turned to him. Commander Thane, your world is secure. The Kryllian occupation forces on the surface are surrendering. They saw what happened to their fleet. They know they have no escape. She smiled slightly. You are free. Free. The word felt strange to Thane. He had forgotten what it meant. How can I ever thank you? You cannot. The Admiral's expression became serious. But you can do something for us. What do you need? Tell the galaxy what happened here today. Tell them that humanity responded when called. Tell them we did not come for conquest or territory or resources. We came because it was the right thing to do. She looked out at her fleet. And tell them that we are done hiding. The quarantine is over. Humanity is returning to the galactic community. And anyone who preys on the weak will answer to us. Over the following days, Thane watched as human forces worked with extraordinary efficiency. Medical teams treated millions of injured Keltharians. Engineers helped rebuild critical infrastructure. The Marines cleared out the remaining Kryllian ground forces with minimal casualties on both sides. The humans fought when necessary, but they preferred negotiation and surrender. They were warriors, yes, but they were warriors with purpose. With honor. With rules they would not break even in victory. Thane sent a message to the Galactic Assembly. He told them everything. He told them about the battle, about the human fleet, about their overwhelming victory. He told them that humanity had saved his species when no one else would. The response from the assembly was immediate panic. Emergency sessions were called. Representatives demanded explanations. How had the humans built such a fleet? Why had intelligence services failed to detect it? What did humanity want now? High Counselor Vrax sent a personal message to Thane. You have unleashed something terrible, Commander. The humans will not stop with saving your world. They will want more. They always want more. Thane thought about Admiral Chen. About the doctors treating his people. About the engineers rebuilding his cities. About the soldiers who had fought to protect strangers they had never met. He sent a reply to the High Counselor. You are wrong. The humans do not want more. They want exactly what they said. They want to protect those who cannot protect themselves. They want to be part of a galaxy that values justice. And if that frightens you, perhaps you should ask yourself why. Perhaps you should wonder what you have been doing for the last 300 years while humanity prepared to be better than you gave them credit for. The council never responded. But Thane did not need their response. He stood on his recovering world and looked up at the human fleet still in orbit, still protecting, still helping. His daughter had survived. She found him on the 4th day, and they held each other and cried tears of joy. 3 weeks later, the human fleet prepared to depart. Admiral Chen met with Thane one final time. We are leaving a small protection force. 50 ships will remain in your system until you rebuild your own defenses. Consider them a gift and a promise. A promise? That humanity will remember who helped us return to the galaxy. You were brave enough to ask for our help when everyone else turned away. We will not forget that. She extended her hand in the human gesture of friendship. Thane grasped it. Thank you, Admiral. You saved my species. We did what anyone should have done. Chen's voice was firm. We just happened to have the means to do it effectively. The quarantine made us strong. Fear made us prepared. But compassion made us human. Never forget that strength without compassion is just tyranny. As the human fleet departed, Thane watched from the surface. 2,000 warships rising into the sky, heading back toward Earth space. They had come when called. They had fought when needed. And they had proven that the galaxy's greatest fear might actually be its greatest hope. The Kryllian Dominion would remember this day. So would every other conquest-minded empire. There was a new power in the galaxy. A power that protected the weak. A power that answered desperate calls for help. A power that had spent 300 years becoming something the universe had never seen before. Humanity had returned. And the galaxy would never be the same. End of story.